Today on Free Sailing Tutorials we're going to look at pilotage plans, why they're so important and how you can put one together.
Yeah. Right, can we have a sailing? Yeah. Good afternoon, how can I help you?
So first of all, a pilotage plan is different to a passage plan in that the passage plan is for your actual voyage, and then a pilotage plan is when you get to where you're going or when you're planning entry. And of course a pilotage plan might be for coming out of a port as well as going into a port. So here I'm going to talk you through how I would put together a pilotage plan for entry into Lymington, the River Lym, into Lymington off or out of the Solent. And to create this pilotage plan I am using the 2020 Reed's Almanac and an old chart of the Solent which must be 15 or 20 years old, so it's obviously not going to be up to date, but it will be good enough to give you an example of how we would put together a pilotage plan for entry into this port. And I'm also going to be using a Proforma which I've created and which you can download. The link is in the description or in the button at the bottom of the blog. So if you want to download this to help you in creating your pilotage plan, please feel free to do so. So the pilotage plan that I've created, basically it's very simple, and it just keeps all the information that we are getting from the almanac in relation to Lymington, and also information from the chart, and it puts it all into one place so that we have that pilotage plan available to take to deck if we want to, and we have it available to us immediately. So the almanac itself has got information, as you'd expect, for the sailing area on tide, Portsmouth being the standard port for Lymington, and also little chartlets for the access into the Lymington River, etc. So you need that as a starting point. Now in this video I'm not going to do a secondary port tidal calculation, but I will put a link in the top corner when that video is available so that you can click to it if you were interested in doing that particular exercise. So using my pilotage plan Proforma and the information that I've got in respect of tide, I'm going to assume we've done a secondary port calculation and we've got time of high water, our time of low water, and our time every hour either side of high water and after low water. And then what I do is transpose that information into my Proforma. I've converted to local time already, and then I'm going to put in the high water height for the day, and then I'll put let's get that right. So put in the high water height, and then I put in the low water height. So high water height we've got there. We're just assuming, as I say, that we've done the calculations for Lymington. So I'll put those in a little later. Putting in the times, so for every hour from high water forwards. And then we do the same for every hour from low water forwards as well in the other column. And then we put the appropriate tidal height for each hour using the tidal curve. So again, as I say, if you want to look at our standard port, our video on standard port tidal calculation, the link is in top right now. So I've got tidal range there, 3.2 meters for the day. Port is Lymington. VHF channel, channel, I think if we look in the almanac, you'll see information. Most of the marinas in this part of the world are using channel 80. So I'm going to put that in, but there is a local port channel as well, which I think is 60 something. I'll look at that in a second. So you put the name of the vessel, the draft of the vessel, and the length overall. So say 12 meters. Put in the date, and then relevant almanac pages. So this is so that you've got a nice fast way of getting to specific information that you have summarized in your pilotage plan. So I'm going to write in first of all the Lymington, the page for Lymington for the entry into the Lymington River. So I put that page number in, That's tidal flow information. We don't really need that for this at the moment. We need the tidal height information on the curve. So the tidal height information on the curve goes in the page for that, so we can refer to it quickly if we need to. That would, I mean, if we arrive late or early, we might want to double check, but of course that's why I've put the hourly times and tidal heights above. So you've got a quick ready reckoner of what the height of water, the height of tide is going to be, and when you access the port. Okay, the Portsmouth tidal information, so the curve, so I'm putting that number in as well. And also the chart, so it's 5600.5 Admiralty small boat chart. So I'm going to put that down too, so that you can get all this information from your chart table quickly, and anybody can get it because it's all summarised there. Okay, so once we've done that, the next thing we're going to do is look at hazards and navigational notes, and we get most of that from the chart and also from the Lymington page of the almanac. So the almanac has everything like shelter, navigation, communications, facilities. So we'll look through that and we will find pertinent information, and we'll start to put that into our hazards navigational notes summary. So the first thing is it warns us of strong cross tides at the entrance to the river. So that's obviously going to be important because we could get swept out of the channel if we're not aware, and onto the mud. Okay, so we're going to keep going through that and transposing information onto the pilotage plan, into the hazards and the navigational notes section, and make sure we've got all the important information summarised for easy access. Then moving up the river, we can see there's a transit which is used, so we make a note of the transit, where it starts and stops, and also its bearing and reciprocal bearing. Okay, then we're going to start making a list of the buoys, their light configuration, the course from one buoy to the next, and the distance between each buoy. And we put those buoys as a sort of a waypoint on a waypoint list, so that we're driving down past each buoy. So we can measure the distance using the scale. I'm doing it in meters, but you'd ideally do it in miles or in cables. And then I'm marking in the names of each buoy. So most of these buoys are numbered, but one or two of them have got names. So I've used names where appropriate, and then I've put in the name. And how these are marked is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4 for the green buoys, and sorry, number 1, number 3, number 5 for the green buoys, and number 2, number 4, number 6, etc. for the red buoys. And obviously red going into port on the port hand side and green on the starboard side. So I'm putting in the light configuration and then the course from one buoy to the next, and I'm doing that in magnetic, so I'm adjusting for variation, and then the distance, which I'm doing in meters. Now you would probably adjust this for compass, which would mean using your deviation card as well, but just for speed I'm doing it in magnetic, and I happen to know the deviation on my vessel is virtually nothing. So you go through making a note of each buoy and each change of course and the distance between each mark, and then even in very poor visibility you're going to be able to find your way down the river. Now what you could also do is make a note of depth, chart datum, at each mark if that information is on your chartlet, and then by adding the amount of tide you've got for that time you would be able to work out whether you're in the right place by depth as well. Right, okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is do a rolling road. So I'm going to write in all these buoys. As I drive down that line, which is the direction of travel, I'm writing in each buoy, depending on which side of the vessel it should be as we drive in, with its light characteristic and its name and its colour. And then between each buoy I'm going to have a bearing, so that's the bearing that we steer between each buoy, and also a distance. So that means that you can take that to deck and you will have a very easy way of moving into the port without having to go below, which you don't really want to be doing if you're coming to a port you don't know, especially at night. And you can extend that onto the second page. So the idea here is that you're getting all of the information that you've gleaned from your chart and from your almanac, and you're putting it all into a summarized format. Now, I use a rolling road because I just think the rolling road is a really good way of providing all the information you need, the buoyage, the light configurations, perhaps specific depths, transits, clearing lines and bearings, and also then a distance between each of them and a bearing. And then you can very quickly work out from that, as you're implementing that, you can work out where you are, and if necessary, you know when you're lost and what to do, which would basically be stop and perhaps retrace your steps. And all of that information then ends up in a pilotage plan which you can take to deck, and it has all the information available to you. Thanks for visiting Free Sailing Tutorials. If you'd like to see more of our free tutorials online, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Facebook page, or alternatively go to freesailingtutorials.com, subscribe for weekly updates.